afternoon, happy Friday to you. Mark Milam here, your mortgage professional with Highland Mortgage, coming to you with this week's interest rate summary and market update. Another rough week in the world of mortgage interest rates. No shortage of data to tell us that the economy is still white hot. Let me show you what I'm talking about. I'll flip the screen around here and scroll down, show you some of the news we got this week, whether it's manufacturing, initial jobless claims coming in under expectations, labor costs coming in much higher than expectations. Really, all week long, we have just been bombarded with a consistent theme that the economy is still running at a pretty high level. That's not good news for inflation, and as we've talked about time and time again, what the Fed is watching is inflation and all the numbers that contribute to it. If inflation is coming down at a rapid pace, we're going to see the Fed ease up, we're going to see mortgage rates improve. In the absence of that kind of data, we're going to continue to stay at high levels, and this week has been no exception. We've lost a little bit of pricing power, now starting to see interest rates in some circumstances all the way up into the sevens, and the heavy-handed pricing penalties from the Federal Housing Finance Agency. This is our loans that are affected, our conforming conventional loans. Those heavy-handed pricing penalties are not helping anything either. We really need the FHFA to step up and reduce some of these pricing penalties that are standard across the board for all lenders. It's a really bizarre time to go increasing pricing penalties when affordability is already getting crushed. Let me show you what I'm talking about as it pertains to affordability. This is from the Atlanta Federal Reserve Bank. They do a home ownership affordability monitor, and a measure of 100. A measure of 100 means a family with a median income in a given area can afford a median priced home. That's a level of 100. That's kind of the average. That's what we're shooting for. We're at 69.9, right? We're way below that 100 level reading, meaning affordability is getting crushed. The drivers of affordability, down here just below it, we're going to see a couple of different color-coded options here, but the main one, you guessed it right there in red, is interest rate change. And yes, while wages are up, this green box right here, while wages are up, interest rate change is far eclipsing that and pushing affordability to decades low. So we haven't seen affordability in these ranges for quite a long time. It is certainly an appropriate time for the FHFA to recognize, just like HUD just recognized, that affordability is getting crushed, and we need to take the burden off of the American consumer. And a really quick way to do that, we can't do much about inflation, right? We have to let that play itself out. We can't ask the Fed to go reducing interest rates in an inflationary environment, but the really quick way to help affordability for Americans would be to relax some of these heavy-handed loan level pricing adjustments. That's what they're called, LLPAs. We really need the FHFA to step up. In the absence of that, unfortunately, we're going to be dealing with this for the coming 60, 90, maybe 120 days till we get to the back half of 2023. One more thing to point out to you, the Fed in a regularly scheduled meeting is meeting March 21st, 22nd. Policy statement coming 2 p.m. Eastern time on March the 22nd. It's been widely anticipated that the Fed is going to hike the Fed funds rate by 1/4 point. Now we're starting to see, in the face of this new inflation data, maybe a 1/2 point might be on the table. If you look at this Fed funds futures tool, you can see that a rate of 1/4 point hike now has a 69.4% chance, a 1/2 point hike showing upwards of a 30% chance in the latest reading. If you go back 1 month from now, 1/2 point hike wasn't even on the table. It was a 97% certainty that we would see a 1/4 point hike coming up on March the 22nd. Now there's a 69% certainty of a 1/4 point hike and upwards of 31% for a 1/2 point rate hike. All of that worth keeping an eye on. And the reason you're seeing mortgage interest rates deteriorate is because of this sentiment, because of this futures trading, this idea the bond traders are going to get there first. They're going to get there way ahead of the Fed, and they're starting to position themselves that, hey, we might see more than a 1/4 point increase come March 22nd. Either way, no matter what, we really need to see some disinflation data come out. Hopeful for that as we progress through the year. And what would be an immediate improvement to affordability would be the FHFA coming to its senses, like HUD did this past week when they relaxed some of their pricing for FHA loans. Hopefully that we'll see that. We'll see a little measure of common sense. In the meantime, if I can be of any service to you, don't hesitate to reach out. Mark.Milam at highlandmtg.com. Have a good weekend.